Hi everybody, I want to welcome you to the Rancho Bernardo Historical Society Museum for the latest of our ongoing monthly speaker series. Each month we have a speaker to talk about local history. My name is Vince Rossi. I coordinate the speaker series and I do a little historical research myself. We're very proud and happy today to have Wendy Barker here. She's the executive director of the Escondido History Center, has been the History Center's executive director for 16 years. I'll give you a little background on Wendy. She attended Cal State University, Fullerton, where she earned a bachelor's in American Studies and a master's in history with a public history emphasis. She's, as I said, been the executive director of the Escondido History Center for 16 years, and I can vouch for her hard work and efforts to preserve the history of her community, which we'll learn a bit more about today, and her work also with organizations like Cinch to promote general North County history. And she is one of these people that I, in one of my books, refer to as unsung heroes of history, because these are the people who preserve the heritage of their communities for future generations. And that's a very important job, as we'll see more evidence of that today. There's two sayings that I've sort of adopted in my own career. I don't remember who said them, but someone once said, every generation stands on the shoulders of the one that came before. And someone else once compared people ignorant of history to amnesiacs, not able to remember who they are, where they came from, or where they're going. Wendy and the other staff at the Escondido History Center, along with volunteers and paid staff at historical societies across the county, are helping to preserve the heritage of past generations and the history we all need to know. I am proud to have worked with her and regard her as one of the strongest stewards of our historical heritage in the county. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Wendy Barker.
Very nice. Okay, so before I get started, I'm just going to tell you that there are purposely no captions other than this one, and there's no dates anywhere. Because when I see a presentation and there's captions, I'm reading that, I'm not looking at the picture, and I want you to just look at the picture. And I know what they all are. I don't always remember the exact date, because most of that stuff doesn't really matter if it's 1891 or 1894, you know? But we're going to start just by saying Escondido, the Hidden Valley. Escondido, of course, is a Spanish word that means hidden. So it's often referred to as the Hidden Valley. We don't know for sure why it got that name. There's competing ideas. So we'll just say it's that. In Escondido, we actually had two different bands of Native Americans, both Luiseño and Kumeyaay, lived in different parts of Escondido. And this fancy porter. Matatis all over the city. Here's a rock drawing, rock painting, really faint. Those are, of course, are protected. I've only ever seen one in person, and it was really faint, but totally awesome. And of course, the mission system came in, and during that time period, this is, you know, Mission San Luis Rey when it was in bad condition, but they were instrumental in changing Indian culture for quite a long time. I noticed you have this up over on your wall over here. So this is all the different ranchos. Escondido, of course, California was Mexico. And the Mexican governor gave what became Escondido to Juan Bautista Alvarado. And he named, wrong button here. He named it Rincon del Diablo. It's right here. And right next to us is Rancho Bernardo, and this is San Marcos. Well, we're this irregular shape right here. And Rincon del Diablo means corner of the devil. We also don't know why he named it that. Most of them are named for saints. And often when something's named for the devil, it is because there's some big geographical, you know, a big canyon, a big rock, a big something. We don't really have that. So again, that's kind of a question. This is Juan Bautista Alvarado's adobe homestead after he vacated many, many years later. This is the only Only one of a couple photographs that we have. This is the earliest known photograph of Escondido. So this is our little Grand Avenue. Not many buildings. It's about 1886. So Juan Bautista Alvarado owned the whole area, almost 13,000 acres, for a number of years. When he died, it went into his heirs. They kind of each owned a little piece of it. The next owner, Judge Oliver Witherby, took about 10 years to buy them all back together. And it went through a number of owners. It was a cattle ranch, it was a sheep ranch. But in 1886, a group of investors called the Escondido Land and Town Company purchased the whole valley, and they set about to build a town. One of the first things that they did was build this hotel. And to me, that looked like it's just out in the middle of the prairie. But if you know downtown Escondido at all, if you know where not the new one, but the downtown Palomar Hospital is, the end of Grand Avenue, that's this location. In the middle of a prairie, right? No trees, no nothing. But here it is a few years later. It was 3 stories, 100 rooms. And this is a picture of Grand Avenue. There it is. And they're laying the stone for the bank building, the Bank of Escondido. That's the other thing that they built. And this is it. First commercial brick building in town. Not many trees, so most of our downtown is brick. There was a little brick factory down near where the depot used to be. When it was first built, tiny little building. This is Broadway today, and this is Grand. Real small town. Land and Town offices were here. Within about 18 months, they added on. And it's never looked completely like one building. There's always been kind of some differences. And it's gone through a number of changes over the years.
Is it still standing today?
It's still standing today. It's right there in the corner of Grand and Broadway. Right now, there's a new store downstairs that's called Spiritivity, where you go and drink wine and paint. Just opened. And right next to it here, this was the lock here design, and that just opened. And I haven't even been there. Just opened. It's like gems and minerals, and it looks, and jewelry, I think. It looks really awesome, but I haven't even been inside.
What street is it on?
Right in the corner of Grand and Broadway.
Okay.
It's on the northwest corner. If you ever go to Cruise and Grand, it's like across the street from the DJ. You guys know about the stage that we had because the Rancho Bernardo Historical Society is building a replica of this at our museum in Great Bay Park. So we're partnering with them on it. It's really their project, but we're really excited about it. The stage went from Valley Center down to San Diego. Took you all day and cost $1. So if you're going to San Diego, you're really going to be gone from your home for 3 days because you're going to take a day to get down there, probably a day to do your business, and then a day to come home. The other thing the Land and Town Company did is they had a big sale for land because, of course, they owned almost 13,000 acres and they wanted to sell it and build a town and make some money. So they had one big day where they erected big tents and they brought a bunch of people in, and they used all the money that they raised that one day to essentially bribe the railroad to come to Escondido. And I should also say that a lot of the same investors in the Escondido Land and Town Company were investors in San Marcos Land Company. They didn't care about building a town in San Marcos. And in fact, the little bit of a town that they had moved when the railroad came through because it was too far away. And, you know, they still kind of don't have the downtown. This was the first school in Escondido. It's called the Lime Street School. In Escondido, the streets from Ash up to Cruz are alphabetical, but several of them have been changed, and one of them is Broadway. Broadway used to be Lime Street. And so this school was actually built right in what is today Great Bay Park, which is where our museum is. Elementary school for students in kindergarten through 8th grade. And the Land and Town Company said, we will give free land to anybody who will build a church or a school. And the University of Southern California took them up on it, and they built this big school. They called it the seminary, but it was not religious. It was really more of a high school. Sometimes it was called the college. They owned it for a few years, but eventually they realized they didn't have enough students, and they deeded it over, and it became the first Escondido High School. It was up on a hill. This church here is on Grand Avenue. It's up on the hill here. And so again, free land to any church. We had 7 churches quite early on, all of them brick. 1 remains today. This is one of the first ranches down in the east end of the valley, the Thomas Ranch. That was the big thing. The Land and Town Company really tried to get people from all over the country, especially the Midwest, come to California. It's the land of, fruit and honey, where you are going to be able to grow crops and have a wonderful life. These are the 2 oldest homes in our community. They're both still around. This one is called the Model House, and it's also something else that the Land and Town Company built. There were 4 brothers and a number of other people in the Land and Town Company, the Thomas brothers, and so one of them lived there for a while. It sits way up on a hill. It's quite far away from downtown, but it has a fabulous view of all of the things that you can see in this tiny little town. So from the Model House to the train station is, probably half a mile. And then from the train station to the bank to the hotel, that's a whole mile. So we were spread out from the beginning, whereas in a lot of towns you would find it all together in one block. They had a bigger vision. And this other house down below, this one, belonged to one of the Thomas brothers, and then his daughter moved in, and she married a Turntine, which was another big family in town. And that house is still in the same family 5 generations later. What I also want to show you is this house is on what today is 5th Avenue and Calmia. Way over here, that's Grand Avenue. So it's 5 blocks away, and there's nothing in between. And this is, from the other side, this is that house, or that building that we could see. And there's that house. Here's another little church. This is St. Mary's up on 7th. Now, Avenue House was right on Grand Avenue. It looks like just a home, and it's called Avenue House, but it was really a boarding house. And they also had lunches and stuff. And they had a pretty little garden. Right down the street was Graham and Steiner's General Merchandise. Now, this was the first store in town that's general merchandise. It was a wooden building. But Pat Graham was from Bernardo. So when Bernardo was kind of fading away, he moved to Escondido. He had this first little store, but before too long, he built this big brick building. And that was, for a long time, the big thing. Now, this guy here, this was his partner, Sig Steiner. Sig eventually bought out Mr. Graham, and he stayed in town for quite a while. He was on the board of trustees, which became the city council. And he is referred to as the father of Great Day, and we'll talk about Great Day in a few minutes. This is that building, I think in the 1920s. And this building is still in town, but even if you know downtown Escondido really well, you would never in a million years guess that this building is still there. This is Grand Avenue. This is Broadway. The second floor was removed. The downstairs was completely remodeled. You might know it as Coast Vacuum and Sewing. It looks nothing like this, but it is still there. And so it's right here. The bank building's right here. This is Drapers and Damons, if anybody knows that. These buildings are still there, but they also lost their second floors because so many buildings downtown were made of unreinforced brick. When there were earthquakes mid-century, people freaked out, and so a lot of the second floors were removed. And we know that this picture is 1909 because of this banner, "A Million for Roads." It was a big bond issue. And I love this photo. It's got horses and cars and this little boy in knickers. It's just too cute. It's one of my favorite pictures. This is another building down the street that's still intact. Again, a little bit remodeled. But the reason I'm showing you now outside is because I want to show you inside. Not a lot of interior pictures. of stores. It's just not something people took pictures of. Not even that many pictures of homes inside. But this is A.R. Moon, and he was a jeweler and a watch repairer. And I just think that's an interesting picture. He was a very eccentric man. He never married, but being into watches and time, he took it upon himself to keep the clock in the Santa Fe Depot up to Greenwich Mean Time. He also was a weather observer in town for decades. He kept meticulous records, and there's reports that he had a system of flags that he would fly from the roof of his building that indicated the weather report. I don't know what that is, but to me it's like, I don't know, black is a big cloud, a big storm coming, and maybe blue is rain. I don't know that. I just know that he did it. Here's we're going to see a couple pictures now of the Grand Avenue. This is 1889. You can see somebody's watering the dusty road here. So here's the bank building, the end of Broadway. There's the hotel, which again we say is where the hospital is now. When you look down Grand Avenue today, you do not get the same view. The street at the end has been kind of realigned, so you don't quite get the same thing. And it's grand, 100 feet side to side. But in the 1960s, they put a median down, and it's got trees. You can't get the same kind of views. And here's that big high school up on the hill. Here it is a few years later, a few more stores coming in. This is a little parade going down the street. And here's a kind of a longer view. So this is Grand Avenue. There's the hotel. There's the high school. Here's the depot. So again, it's a mile from the depot down to the hotel. We had a number of gold mines in town. Judge Oliver Witherby, who was one of those early owners, started with the first mine. But other people also mined. They got a lot of gold and silver and some other things, but much of Escondido has a pretty high water table. So at some point, you're pumping out a lot of water, and for the amount of stuff they were getting, it eventually wasn't worth it. Grapes were the first big crop. So the Atlantic Town Company in particular was promoting muscat grapes, which have a long taproot because we didn't have a water source. And but early on, there was a couple of years where they had a lot of rain and flooded grapes. We'd like a lot more rain right now. Also cane, all kinds of different agriculture that we had. This is, I think, an interesting picture of irrigation in somebody's orchard. And this is actually right next to Great Bay Park. My office would be right here. This is Escondido Creek. This is Broadway. Here's the hotel and the school. So eventually, though, 1894, the city realized they were going to have a reliable water source. So they passed a bond issue to tax themselves, and they set about to build a reservoir. And it was quite a big project. But that's how we got what today is called Lake Fulford. So it was hand dug. Here's the dam going up, and here is completed. This part of the dam is still in use. It's about to get redone, but it's been in use since it was completed in 1895.
So there was a river there.
Yeah, they diverted some water from Lake Henshaw, and the creek was through there, which is mostly not a lot of water. Yeah.
Because one of the captions was Escondido River.
Yeah.
River to Escondido.
Yeah, well, the creek is sometimes called a river, but
Yeah.
river's really pushing it. So they finished the water, the whole thing, and initially it was called the Escondido Dam. But in 1924, they changed it to Lake Wolford because Mr. Wolford had been very instrumental in the whole water project, and he actually died, and then they named it for him. Kind of would have been nice to have named it before, but they didn't do that. And then finally, in 1905, so over 20 years after they started the project, they paid off the bond. The city paid off all that money, and they had a big celebration. They were so thrilled that they're out from under those taxes. And then the next year, everybody just went the same place. It was behind that Lime Street School. And then the next year they went back again. And they were going and doing these little first organized and then not so organized things on September 9th. And that's a state holiday that we don't really celebrate today, but it's when California became a state. So California Admissions Day. And so then on the third year, 1908, smart Mr. Sig Steiner, who was a merchant, said, you know what, let's capitalize on that. Let's have an event. We're going to call it Grape Day. And we're going to have a big event. We're going to invite all kinds of people. So that's what they did. And we were not the only community. I know Encinitas had the Lima Bean Day. And, you know, this was kind of a thing that was going around. But for Grape Day, one of the things they did was they had special excursion trains that brought tons of people from San Diego. And of course, Escondido wasn't that big. And so, you know, not the kinds of things to do like we have today. Not so much competition. So everybody came to Grape Day. They decorated downtown. The big thing was they gave away free grapes. This year, this is I think 1913, and it says right here, 10 tons of grapes for our guests. So grapes is their big crop, but yet once a year they're giving away up to 20,000 pounds of it in one day. I think that's pretty spectacular. And it went from 1908 until 1950. Starting in 1913, we had a queen, we had a big parade. This is the most elaborate parade ever for the queen. That was in, I think, 1927 when King Tut had been discovered, and there was a lot of interest in all things Egyptian, and a local dentist made this Egyptian barge to go downtown. This is from the 40s. I think this is interesting too. So cars are parked there for the parade, and the people all just stand in front of the cars. We would never in a million years do that today. That would never be allowed. Here is flagpole. Look how tall that is, 100-foot tall flagpole at the corner of Grand and Broadway. This is Calmia right here. This is the park during the 1940s for Grape Day. I'm telling you, this was a big deal. But then the war came along, and they didn't have it for several years, and then they had it for 1 year, and then the next year there was an influenza epidemic, and they didn't have it. And after that, they just had trouble keeping it going. Here's another little long view of our community. And here's from the opposite direction. This photo is taken up from the hill by the hospital. So this is Grand Avenue, looking down towards the depot. Over here is Grape Day Park. There's Grand and Broadway right there. The first Escondido High School, that big building that started out as USC, looked bigger than I think it actually was. So they built a new one in the 1920s. And then the old one had a big fire. And even though it was a brick building, and even though they had a brand new fire truck, it burnt pretty much to the ground. When I first started my job 16 years ago, the very first presentation I ever did, I said something about that, and a lady in the audience said, "Oh, I watched it burn as a little kid." Her dad was a volunteer fireman, and they had a brand new, as I said, fire truck. They went to put out the fire, but as I showed you, it's up on a hill. They could not get water pressure, and they just had to watch it burn. After we got water, then grapes kind of disappeared, especially because of Prohibition, and citrus came in, both lemons and oranges, and they were huge for our community. Said to have the world's largest lemon packing house under one roof. We also had an orange association. There were other packing houses as well, and they all kind of died out about 1960. After World War II, you've got so much demand for more homes that people are selling off, and a lot of the trees by that time were reaching the end of their really productive years. Here's that flagpole I showed you another thing. So there's the bank building. This is still Steiner's place, that two-story building that now has lost its way. So the corner of Grand and Broadway, that's where in Escondido, it's really kind of epicenter. It's where all the streets change from north to south or east to west. And the bank building that today is this new business Spiritivity, and what is today Drapers and Damons. Now, Drapers and Damons has changed their doorway. But it used to be that those two buildings that are kitty corner from each other both had a doorway right on the corner looking in the middle of the street. And in the 1920s, the local Masons planted a 100-foot flagpole there. And 100 feet is really, really tall. It was there until 1944 when the city was getting worried about the condition of it. They hired somebody to shimmy up it. And he would not go all the way. And said, no, this has got a problem, it needs to come down. And the base stayed for a while. And so some people say, oh, I remember it later. It's like, no, you don't. We know for sure. We have the newspaper article, it came down in 1944. But what they did is pretty interesting with that flagpole. They cut it down and they moved it to the new city hall, which was what's usually referred to as the Adobe City Hall. And then when our current city hall was built in 1988, they cut it again and it's in front of our city hall. So now I think it's about 35 feet, but it's the same flagpole from 3 locations. Here's the Adobe City Hall. There's the flagpole. This is Palomar Hospital when it first opened, 1915. And you'll see it's called Palomar Memorial Hospital. It was named Memorial for all of the vets who died in World War II. And I was doing some research on World War II a number of years ago, and what I thought was really interesting in the local newspaper, almost every day, above the fold, the top thing, it said how much money they had raised for a hospital. They really, really wanted a hospital. And every club in town did fundraisers for it over a number of years. One little boy, I think he had raffled off his pony. I mean, it was all kinds of things. So that was like a huge, huge thing when Palomar Hospital finally opened. And here's the new freeway coming in 1949, linking us to San Diego. So we didn't have to do the long bridge and through RB anymore. We could go more directly down to San Diego. But the new freeway was 395, which today we know as Center City Parkway. This is Grand Avenue. I could tell from those palm trees. The palm trees were planted either in 1914 or 1916. A little bit of debate. We know that there were trees planted both of those years. But they went from the depot down to Maple Street to kind of lead people downtown because, again, it's kind of far. They're not right next to each other. Here is that bridge that linked our community. So this is 1919 when the Bernardo Bridge was pretty new. And the caption in our database says that it's over the river, not the lake. I thought that was interesting. I didn't quite understand that. But here it is in the 1930s. So for a long time, before the freeway, of course, was here, people from Escondido had to go a long way through. And then, I'm sure you guys know all about this fish camp and places to hang out. And this was kind of a tight curve here when there was water. And I know somebody who's seen a car go in there on a Saturday night when somebody's had too much to drink. But reportedly that happened quite a bit. And that bridge is pretty close to where the current pedestrian bridge and that suspension bridge over there. Downtown in the 1950s was absolutely the place to be. Friends that I know that grew up in Escondido, they just talk about what an idyllic place it was to grow up. It was small town, like about 5,000 or 6,000 people. Everybody knew each other. Downtown on a Saturday night, the kids went one way, the moms went another way, the dads went another. And if you did something you were not supposed to do, your parents would know before you saw it. 1964, we opened a new mall, Escondido Village Mall. Doesn't that look really mid-century? That was a new shopping experience for us, and I think it hurt downtown a little bit, but it wasn't until North County Fair went in that it really just kind of sucked the guts out of downtown. This was an institution in our town for a long time. This is a big teepee, and you can see it's just made out of wood, but it's sat up on a hill, and if you were going like down into the San Pasqual Valley, you'd see it up on the teepee road. The man who built it, I want to say 1920 28 or might have been 30. He never told anybody. Anybody. He didn't even tell his family what his plan was for that thing. And there's different talk. It's going to be a hotel. It's going to be a who knows what. But then the Depression hit. He never finished it. But it was this big space up on a hill that during World War II, it was a spy plane lookout. It was Lover's Lane for a lot of people. It was a teenage hangout. And then finally in 1977, blew over. But that was a big landmark in Escondido. And this brings us back to the beginning, that picture I showed you of the hotel. Kind of looks like a prairie. That picture was 1886. This is in the 1970s. This is building San Pasqual High School. So the mall's over here, Bernardo, Kit Carson Park. Same thing. It's in the 1970s and there's nothing out there. This is our little office. It was the city's first public library on Grand Avenue. Today it's right here. It's in Great Gate Park. We hope that you'll come visit us. We've got a lovely museum. We have our office in the city's first library. There's a ton of photos in there and a changing exhibit. We have a fully furnished, beautiful 1890 Victorian house, a barn, the 1888 depot. Downstairs is a recreation of what it originally looked like. And upstairs is exhibits on how the city changed and grew over time. So, the Rancho period, Native Americans, building the city, water, great farming exhibit that we just completed about a year and a half ago. And we have a railroad car. If you have kids and grandkids, they love the railroad car because inside the big railroad car is a model train where you can see the route from Oceanside to Escondido. And then we have a blacksmith shop. And that's the only building that's not the original one. All the others were moved to the park. The original 1908 Bandy blacksmith shop was torn down. And what we built is not an exact replica, but it's pretty close. But for us, we teach blacksmithing. So we needed a place to teach that. That's why it's a little bit different. We have a lot of the original equipment. We've been teaching blacksmithing since the early 90s. Now we're teaching wheelwright skills as well. And like I said earlier, you can read all about it right here. But a replica of the mud wagon stage is being built by the Rancho Bernardo Historical Society at the Escondido History Center. You can watch it. They're usually Tuesday mornings and Saturday mornings, and it's really interesting project. So thank you all so much. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them for you. Yes?
Could you say a little more about the Kumeyaay and the other Indian
Lusteños?
people? Yes.
I just know that I think both of them were not necessarily in permanent camps all the time. They moved around. And the main difference between them is their language. So the Lusteño are more closely aligned with the San Luis Rey mission. That's how they got that name. And from archaeology digs that have happened in Escondido, we can see that we definitely, in our city, had both groups living there. And so if you came to the depot, which is open afternoons, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, from 1 to 4, you can see a map that shows that. Oh, you're welcome. Yes?
The railroad, when did it arrive? Where did it come from? What was the company that put it in?
Okay, so it came barely in 1888. Actually, the night before, there was, it started in 1886, and there was a bonus if they got it done before 1888. So what the company did, and it was Santa Fe, is they ended up in some parts of Escondido, and I think San Marcos, they did like not the complete rails, but like lay them in, I don't even know how they did it, but so they can meet that deadline. And like I know in San Marcos, they eventually moved a number of buildings that were their little downtown to be closer to it because they were, I think part of it was because they were trying to meet that deadline and they wanted to go the most direct route. Now it's a spur line and only ever came from Oceanside, it's 22 miles, but the original idea was that the line would come from Oceanside to Escondido, and then there was going to be another one from Escondido to downtown San Diego. That part was never built. We also had, or were supposed to have, a trolley system that would take people downtown. That would be from the depot to the hotel, like a mile. And we have first-hand reports of them laying trolley track down Grand Avenue, but I don't even think it was there more than like 6 months. That never really happened, although we know they did briefly do the tracks. But it's a Santa Fe.
Was it Santa Fe? Was it?
Mm-hmm. And our depot, other ones along the line, they're all the same design. So they all look the same in San Marcos and I think Vista. There's a couple of smaller ones that were, I think, didn't have full depots, but 22 miles. And our little HO scale model was made from photographs of buildings in the towns along the track. It's kind of the 1920s. The car is a 1929 car. So it starts in Oceanside and goes through, ends up in Escondido, San Marcos.
Would the little old station in Del Mar be similar to what you had in Escondido?
Yeah, I think that was smaller, but I think the look of it is the same. Yeah, or similar.
How about Del Dios Highway? What's the background on that?
I have to say, I don't know too much about that. I could make something up, but I don't want to do that with you guys. So,
You can get away with
I mean,
it.
I'm sure we have information about it, but I don't really know it off the top of my head.
Okay.
It's such a gorgeous drive up there this month.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Was the railroad, a commercial railroad to haul grapes out or something?
Yeah, it was really for everything. It was passengers and freight. And passenger service ended in the 1950s and then started up, about 10 years ago, maybe when the Sprinter came in. But it continued to do freight. And so the depot, I want to say it was 1954, but I could be off on that, when they stopped passenger service, was just doing freight. And it was an ag country, They were shipping out grapes and then later fruit and eggs and hay and, all kinds of stuff. In fact, you might know the story countywide of the big flood of 1916. You guys know that story? So there was a big drought in the county of San Diego, and everybody needed water. The city of San Diego hired a rainmaker, Charles Hatfield. Who knows what he did or if he was at all, responsible, but it did rain and rain and rain and rain and rain and rain, and every bridge except 2 in the county flooded out. The huge flooding in Escondido, and so I know in Escondido we had eggs and fruit, all kinds of stuff rotting at the depot for a month until they could get the tracks repaired. So they had to let the water, go away. And then there's a picture that we have of, train tracks that are, on the ground, right? They're all twisted. The guy's standing next to it, and part of it's like to his waist. They're just all twisted up from the huge flood. So yeah, we were shipping out all kinds of stuff for a long time, and we still have freight going in and out. I'm going to tell you something. I didn't bring a picture of it, but I recently did a driving tour for a group, and I'd never put one of those together, and trying to figure out the route. Right off of Grand Avenue, kind of down near the depot, there's these big silos. They're kind of distinct, so it's like a Quince and Valley Parkway. I never knew what it was, but they make chicken feed. And they only make chicken feed for their group of 17 chicken feed producers, but they get tons, like carloads and carloads of that stuff every week. So even when other stuff was not being produced, they're right next to the train track. They're right by Hawthorne's country store. So there were companies that have been continuously getting freight in Escondido and still doing it today.
When I moved here 18 years ago, I used to work at the Art Center and get off the freeway and drive by there.
Yeah.
There were chickens running around in the road. You had to be careful as you drove through there not to hit any chickens.
Yeah, you see a lot of, you look at old papers like in the 1890s, 1900s, and you see things like the Escondido Creamery.
Oh, yeah.
They were talking about, which was near, and it was not that far from the station,
Right.
because they talked about how many tons of cream and butter were being shipped to LA from there. So
Yeah, it's pretty easy to go back to the local paper, which was the Times Advocate for many, many decades. And oh gosh, we so miss having a local paper. But you can read reports in the paper of how much stuff was being shipped out. And sometimes it talks about it in pounds or in tonnage, but often it's in carloads. 17 carloads of wheat went out this month, or 3 carloads of, whatever. And we have some interior pictures of the lemon packing house. One of them is blown up in the depot freight room. And you can't believe how many full picking boxes of lemons are in that picture, because they're stacked up to the guy's list. So there's 3 or 4 stacked, and it's a really long row, and it goes on and on and on and on and on. I mean, I don't know how many, but it's huge. And that wasn't even the only packing house. And so a lot of ag, and now it seems like we don't have much ag, but we do. It's just a lot of it's smaller. We have a lot of small 10-acre or less, little kind of mini farms that are specializing in crops that you can grow in smaller areas or make more money per. There's also a number of people that I personally know who bought, maybe 5 acres, built their house and planted a little grove to supplement their income. So there's a lot of that kind of the small backyard ranch or orchard is.
Tell us more about that ring man.
I don't know what he really did, but his name was Charles Hatfield, and I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch locally in 2016, because it'll be 100 years, and it was a big deal. I think there's been a number of stories written about him, and maybe even a book, I'm not sure. I do know for a fact, though, that he was never paid by the city of San Diego, even though somebody brought the rain. The rain did so much damage that they would only pay him if he would pay for the damage. So he didn't get paid. And I think he did it with, I think it was him and a brother, but Charles is the more well-known name. So I don't know, they might have been shooting some kind of chemicals or, probably has nothing to do with it, right? But these days when we need water, where's the Charles Hatfield of today? I don't know. Yes?
I would ask about the chicken ranching.
Mm-hmm.
In the early 60s, my husband worked for a man who had a business of vaccinating chickens in all these houses, and it was a horrible job.
Oh, I bet it was. I just know that there were a number, and there was
chicken farms for the eggs.
Yeah, chicken farms for the eggs, and there was also there was a turkey farm kind of right in what now is Old Escondido Historic District. It's like all homes, but I've got pictures and I know the address. So, we also had dairies. We had a number of dairies. Hollandia Dairy, which is still around, but not much cows down here anymore. They were really huge, but there were other dairies as well. So, honestly, Ben Hillebrecht, who's kind of retired now, but he was Farmer of the Year. He's been a farmer his whole life. His dad was a farmer. He's third-generation farmer. Years ago, I asked him, we were working on an exhibit about farming, and I wanted a kind of a list of, what's been grown here. And I swear to God, he said, just about anything that can be grown in California is or was grown here. And not all things stayed, but together with him, and just by looking at newspaper articles and things, I put together a list. It's like a really long list. Any kind of fruit or vegetable you can think of is on that list.
You see cycles of where, like, Escondido and Vista and other communities traded the title of avocado capital of the world.
Yeah.
Because the crop would predominate at one point, and then it would phase out, or a lot of packing houses got consolidated in areas farther north. But that's, you see that a lot.
Right, and so in Escondido, we consider the 4 big crops. First it was grapes, mostly muscat grapes. Then it was citrus, lemons and oranges, and then avocados. And the reason the avocados started coming in right when citrus was going out, about 1960, is that a lot of the oranges and lemon trees were getting older, not as productive, and what was being written in the farming community was that you could make more money from 1 avocado tree than from 10 citrus trees. So it made sense to cut your citrus trees that were not doing so good and plant avocados, even though they take a while to, get to maturity. And then Henry Avocado, which is based in Escondido, Mr. Henry, he had a bunch of inventions for keeping the life cycle of avocados good, some kind of gassing thing that would keep them so they wouldn't all come ripe at the same time, and I don't even know all the details, but he was really a smart innovator in that whole community. And Escondido now, pretty built in, but the hills around us. Last summer, we had a couple in from out of state, and they said, we want to go see some avocado trees. Can you show us where to go see some? And I said, well, go out of town, and if you go up the grade toward Valley Center, you're covered on both sides. Oh, well, we went up there yesterday. But avocados blended in the tree, and they didn't know that they were seeing thousands of trees already. So there's still a lot, with the water shortages, a lot of people have been letting their grows go, so not as many, but it's a fire break for us. It's a green belt, it's pretty, and so even though a lot of people think that there's not much agriculture still in Escondido, there's more than most people think.
Were the early people who built Escondido Californians, or did they come from Ohio, Pennsylvania, Illinois?
They mostly came from the Midwest. I mean, of course, there were people here early on, Mexicans, when it was Mexico, when there were Native Americans, but most of the people, like from the Land and Town Company, Jacob Hundite, other people, most of them came from the Midwest. And we had 2 newspapers early on. One was for locals, and one was not for here, but was to send out to mostly the Midwest. That was all about how great it was here. Come to Escondido, the skies are blue and sunny, and you can grow whatever you want at a time when there wasn't even a water source. But they came. And in part of our city, what's Old Escondido Historic District, which is our first neighborhood, the streets in this direction are all numbered now, but initially they were all named after states. And the initial idea was that, if you live in Kansas, you're going to want to go live on Kansas Street. Or if you're from Illinois, you'd want to go live on Illinois Street. That didn't ever really happen. And when we finally got home delivery of the mail, the post office requested, and city council approved, changing the name of all those streets. So instead of delivering to Dakota and Kansas and Illinois, Indiana, it was 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. Because that was just too hard? I don't know. Thank you all very much.